Good morning, everyone. And I'm so excited I can say this because I wasn't sure I would be able to. Good morning, church family. Thank you, Ben, for that wonderful prayer, and thank you for those of you who prayed with me and for me this morning. I can stand up in the front of 30 children and I'm fine. I get in front of 3 adults and I'm nervous. So, I don't know, you're just bigger kids, right? So today I want to talk to you about the woman of valor. This is my way. So what do you fear? Snakes? Heights? Small spaces? Spiders? Me personally. Many Christians fear the book of Revelation. It's full of frightening beasts made from multiple animals, dragons ready to devour babies, horrific plagues, and terrible judgments. But in avoiding this book, people miss the most amazing prophecy of a new heaven and a new earth. A world where Jesus reigns, Satan is forever banished, and joy is overflowing. There's another part of the Bible that many Christians fear, especially women. Proverbs 31, the seemingly unattainable, perfect wife verses. However, just as we need not fear Revelation, there is no need to fear Proverbs 31. It too is full of hope and joy if only we study the deeper meaning of who this woman is and what she means to us. These verses are not just for women, but for men as well. For these verses were not written for a woman, but rather about a woman, to a man, by his mother. The first 9 verses of this chapter are instructions to King Lemuel on how to act in a righteous manner. Verses 10 through 31 describe the virtuous wife, the wife many Christian women have come to dread being measured against. But why? Why do we fear this description so much? God tells us over and over throughout the Bible in various circumstances that there is no need to fear. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. Joel 2:21. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for the Lord has done marvelous things. And I want to pause there. This is not actually in my sermon, but the Lord's marvelous things. This morning in fusion service, the prayer was about not feeling fear, and that every time angels show up, they tell you to fear not. And I just think God is so amazing how so often he will weave together the sermon and the children's story and different pieces where the individuals doing those things have not talked to each other. It's just the message God has given. And he is a marvelous God who does marvelous things. John 12:15 says, Fear not, daughter of Zion. Behold, your king is coming, sitting on a donkey's colt. Isaiah 43:5 says, Fear not, for I am with you, and I will bring your descendants from the east and gather you from the west. Isaiah 44:2 says, Thus says the Lord who made you and formed you from the womb, who will help you. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and you, Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. Isaiah 41:10, Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 43:1, But now, thus says the Lord, who created you, O Jacob, and who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Daniel 10:19. And he said, O man greatly beloved, fear not. Peace be to you. Be strong. Yes, be strong. So when he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. And there are many, many more. So if we are not to fear this description, then what exactly is Proverbs 31 really about? I wanted to know more about this chapter in Proverbs, and I wanted to understand what it meant for the women of my church, the women of my time, and for women like me who are not married. So I began to research, because I'm a teacher. What I do. Much of what I read was the same message over and over again. Christian women, we should be like the woman described, just like her. There are books and blogs and seminars and retreats, and they all focus on how we can be more like this ideal. However, I wanted to go further back and see if I could find and understand the original meaning. And as a history egghead, I truly believe that in order to understand our present, we must understand our past. First, Proverbs is a book about wisdom. And according to the Andrews Bible Commentary, the Hebrew title, and I don't speak Hebrew, so if you do, please forgive me when I butcher this, but the Hebrew title is Mishlah. The meaning is similar to the English word Proverbs, but as often is the case, it does not translate literally. A better translation would be wisdom sayings. The Institute for Creation Research states that between Proverbs 10:1 and Proverbs 22:16, there are 375 wise sayings. Of course, the overarching theme of Proverbs is wisdom. But under that umbrella, the writers focus on many aspects of life. Child rearing, wise speech, righteousness versus unrighteousness, fidelity versus infidelity, diligence versus laziness, riches versus poverty, and handling conflicts are just some of the areas covered within this book. Now, back to chapter 31. Again, those first 9 verses, instructions to King Lemuel on how to behave in a righteous manner. Instructions taught to him by his mother according to verse 1. So I'm going to read Proverbs 31, 1-9, and this is the New King James Version. The words of King Lemuel's mother. The words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. What, my son, and what, son of my womb, and what, son of my vows? Do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes intoxicating drink, lest they drink and forget the law, and pervert the justice of all the afflicted. Give strong drink to him who is perishing, and wine to those who are bitter of heart. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open your mouth for the speechless, in the cause of all who are appointed to die. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. So in verses 3-5, King Lemuel's mother warns him to stay away from women. And I'm presuming she's talking about party girls. And she also tells him to stay away from alcohol in order to keep a clear head at all times so that he can rule justly. And in verse 8 and 9, she exhorts him to defend the poor and the needy and seek justice for those who cannot help themselves, something we all, especially leaders, should strive to do. Now, the bulk of this chapter, verses 10-31, this section is one of the 13 alphabetical acrostic poems in the Bible, where each line begins with a successive letter in the Hebrew alphabet. It is called the Eshet Hayil. Again, Hebrew. Forgive me if you speak Hebrew. That means woman of valor. And that's after the very first line in this section. So what does valor mean? According to the online Merriam-Webster, valor is a noun that means strength of mind or spirit that enables a person to encounter danger with firmness. Can also mean personal bravery. On the website for Mrs. White's writings, you can access Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary, which I thought was fun and interesting. Again, egghead. It defines valor as strength of mind in regard to danger, that quality which enables a man to encounter danger with firmness, personal bravery, courage, intrepidity, and prowess. So that's valor. Now, in the Jewish culture, the male head of the household recites Proverbs 31 before the Friday evening meal. It is a way to honor the women in his life and all they do. But notice, it's the men who memorize Proverbs 31 and the men who recite Proverbs 31. So again, it's not just for women. It's for women and men. Throughout the Bible, the woman represents the church. Throughout the book of Proverbs, however, a woman represents wisdom. So listen to Proverbs 3, verses 13 through 18, for example. Happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding, for her proceeds are better than the profits of silver, and her gain than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things you may desire cannot compare to her. Length of days is in her right hand, in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and happy are all who retain her. So, if a woman represents both wisdom and the church, then Proverbs 31 isn't about the attributes of a specific woman. It's about the attributes of God's church, God's people. So, let's go ahead and read, and if you would like to join me, feel free. I'm going to read Proverbs 31, starting at verse 10. The virtuous wife. Who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. Notice the correlation between this and Proverbs 3. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, so he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. She considers a field and buys it. From her profits, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known at the gates, where he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Chapter 31, verses 10 through 31 repeat many of the same wise sayings as the first 30 books of Proverbs. Wise sayings about being honest, trustworthy, hardworking, respectable, kind, and above all, wise. Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." Proverbs 31 is for both men and women. It's about wisdom and valor. We are to be women and men of wisdom and valor. We are to be a church of wisdom and valor. We are to be a people of wisdom and valor.